All right, guys, thanks for joining us for another Spin That Shit podcast. Today we have brother WB Walker from Old Soul Radio Show on with us today. Super thrilled, happy to have him. He's nice enough to spend some time with us and talk music and how he got started in this whole crazy industry. So stay tuned for that. Before we get there, please subscribe, ring the bell, hit the button, save, share, whatever. Tell your mom, tell your friends. We're all over social media. We're trying to grow this thing from the bottom up. So we appreciate the support. Let's go talk to WB. All right, like I was saying, thanks for joining us, man. Taking time out of your busy schedule to talk music. Can you just tell everyone what you do as far as podcasting or your radio show, or people that don't know, give them a little brief description?
All right. I've hosted a podcast by the name of WB Walker's Old Soul Radio Show since 2012. And I guess since about a month and a half ago, I started venturing also into YouTube on WB Walker's Old Soul Video Show. And that about covers it. I mean, I've been doing it, like I said, since 2012 and almost up to 300 episodes on the podcast. And just do what I can to help folks find good music. So that's about the gist of it, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. So I found out about you through Coulter Wall's album. And ever since then, I've been listening in, certain episodes. And sometimes I discover new artists I never heard of. So I love that about it. And then obviously you put some artists on there that I listen to frequent. So it's just a good mix when you hear your show, at least for me.
Yeah.
How did Coulter having you on his record there boost you as far as getting more views and all that? Is that something you could notice overnight? Like, holy crap, I got more people watching this show or listening to this show.
I don't know if it was like over, or if it was just like over one night type deal, but I mean, I would say probably 40% of the people that I talked to that listened to my podcast got turned on to my podcast by me being on Coulter's record. So I definitely noticed a boost pretty early on, but I mean, there's a whole lot has found me because him asking me to do that little skit there on his record.
Yeah.
So it's been good to me.
Yeah, that's cool. I hung out with Coulter, I don't know, 2 years ago at one of the bars over here after the show. He's a good guy. Awesome music, obviously. What made you want to start doing podcasting about this type of music? And was it your upbringing, something strike you, or you just felt like you wanted to be part of it? Or
I've always been a fan of country music and stuff, and I, like a lot of folks, I didn't realize there was so much good country music out there that never gets a fair shake. They just don't play on the radio. So the first time I heard Chris Knight was probably like 2007, something like that, and it just blew me away. And I started thinking, if there's music like this out there, what else is out there? So it just sent me down a rabbit hole. I had thought on it for probably 3 or 4 years, something like that, about wanting to be able to do something to help good music get heard. And that's when I kindly started the radio show. And I mean, at first, naturally, hardly nobody listened to it, but as time went on and I got more episodes under my belt and stuff, I mean, it started to become something that I knew that folks seemed to enjoy and stuff like that. So it just kind of come out of just me trying to help folks find a lot of the music that I'd found myself, just trying to turn folks on to what I was listening to. So that was kind of, and that's still it today. Like that Bella White, I just played her on my show today. The one I just this morning, and I heard her for the first time like a week ago. A buddy of mine, Garrett McKee from the Hippies and Cowboys podcast, she's up there close to where he lives up in Alberta, and he told me to check her out. As soon as I heard it, I mean, I knew I had to do my part to help it get heard. So I mean, it just continues to be what I do. I just try to help independent artists and folks like that just get their music heard the best way I can. So that's kind of what I've always done.
Who else are you enjoying right now besides Bella White? Who are a couple that you're spinning?
Well, I knew Morgan Wade record come out today. It's damn good. If folks haven't listened to Drayton Farley, I just put it my last video show. I had him this past Wednesday. He come up from Alabama there probably about 3 weeks or so ago. I think he's going to be one that really kindly takes it to the next level. Dalton Mills is somebody that I had over recently. I've been a huge fan of his. His record he put out last year was my favorite record to come out in 2020. I mean, that's just to name a few. But I mean, if any folks can check my podcast out, I mean, everybody that I play on my shows, that's the only rule I have with my show is that I won't play anything for folks that I don't want to listen to myself. So anything on my podcast is pretty much what I've been listening to. Been listening to a lot of damn music, and I bought the jukebox come in yesterday, and been listening to a bunch of early '90s 45s. It's been in the jukebox since 1991. So I've been listening to all that shit yesterday, today, and probably for the next little bit going forward.
Yeah.
So I listen.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram. It looks like a pretty badass setup. I need one of them myself.
Yeah, I've been wanting one for a long time. That was kind of like the last thing really for the barn and grill here, besides a grill. I don't got a grill, but but it's kind of like was the last thing I really, really wanted. And they're just so hard to find. And when you do find them in working order, they're expensive as hell. So I just had looked forever, and I found a guy in Georgia that had one, and he agreed to deliver it to me himself. And so I'd want. Yeah, I had to pay for it. I'll say that, but it's well worth it. I've wanted one forever. I got all these old 45s that I really ain't full with a whole lot because I don't like listening to 45s just on a record player because you got to get up, turn them over every 2 damn seconds. So mainly just listen to 33s, but having this jukebox, I mean, it's kind of opened up a whole new world when it comes to what I do with my 45s now. So now I'm trying to like make my jukebox like the ultimate playlist, just put all some of my favorite 45s and shit in there. I'm looking forward to when folks come over, they press some buttons and hear some tunes.
How many 45s can you fit in that one?
It plays 200 songs, so you can fit 145s in it. So
definitely a good playlist out of that.
Yeah, I was going through and counting the records I still have to put in it, and I took a bunch out. I'm going to probably still have to kind of go over it with a fine comb type deal to kind of get it where I want it. But I enjoy shit like that. Stuff like that's fun as hell to me.
Yeah. Yeah, your setup. I love your setup. Well, if I'm ever in your area, I'll definitely hit you up because I want to see. I want to be in the barn.
Yeah.
I'll bring a grill.
Well, I got a grill under the front porch, but I can break it out every now and again and fix a steak or something. But I've always told anybody, and I mean this with everything in me, if somebody is close and wants to come check it out, I've never said no to anybody, and I've never had anybody act like an asshole or nothing. So until I have that happen, I'll probably just continue to have an open door policy. I don't care who comes as long as they act like they got some sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned people using your.
So that's just.
You mentioned people using your show to find music. What's your process? What are you digging through, and how are you finding these people?
Well, I have a lot of folks that send me stuff, but I just kind of, there's difference. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts or nothing like that. I just honestly don't have the time, especially doing this video show and shit. It's taking a whole lot of time, but I just, through social media and stuff, I'll have, I'll see stuff or I'll have people message me, hey, check me out. And that's one thing that I always try to check everything out that's sent to me because you never know what you could overlook or what you might miss by. And it takes a lot of time, but probably 95% of it is by submission or, a lot of the stuff I play is from artists, kind of like alums or whatever that I've already played on the show. When I know folks I follow have new records coming out, stuff like that. Excuse me, I'll play them and stuff, but social media, there's different groups and stuff I'm in on Facebook and stuff. And if I, see names and stuff that I think, or if I hear stuff that I think, is pretty good, I try to reach out to the artists and try to buy their music or whatever to be able to play it on the show. So most of it, like to answer your question, is through submissions, but I find stuff also, just looking around.
Yep. Me and Garrett started this podcast at the beginning of the pandemic, really, and kind of fooled around with it and didn't do much in the summertime. And now we're getting back to it. And I think it's here to stay for us. We're just music lovers, That's why we
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you. We could tell that you loved music too, and that's why you were doing it.
Yeah. I mean, there's folks that probably make decent money doing podcasts and shit, but I've never really tried to do anything like that. You know, I just do it because I love it. And, you know, yeah, I sell hats and shit every now and again and do okay with that. But I mean, I've always just done it because, I mean, it's kind of like I've told people, I've give folks the analogy before. It's kind of like when you read a good book and you just can't wait to hand it off to somebody so they get the same experience. That's how I've always been with a song or a record. You know, when
for sure
it speaks to me, I want other folks to be able to feel what I'm feeling. So that's, you know, it's always been a labor of love with me. I just want to do my best to maybe brighten somebody's day and let them hear something that potentially they've never heard before.
Yeah. The we do like this little questionnaire we ask people. We're going to run these 5 questions by you real quick. What's an artist that you would like to have on your show, especially play there in your barn like you've been doing on your YouTube shows? Who would you like to have, like looking forward to having maybe?
I mean, somebody that I would absolutely probably my grail, besides maybe like a Hank Jr. or something like that I know probably would never happen. I would love to someday have like a Chris Knight. I've been trying to work getting Chris over here because, like I said, he's kind of the one that got me kind of kick-started with the show. But like Ryan Bingham's kind of like that would be like probably top tier for me if somebody that I would love to eventually get on the show. Don't know if it ever happened, but I mean, I didn't think, you know, Coulter would be coming down here playing shit, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
Things. I mean, that's the thing. I've had a lot of opportunities, and I've got to meet a lot of people that I never thought that I'd get to know as good as I know them. So I mean, hell, you never know what might happen someday. But Bingham and Chris Knight are 2 that I really love to someday have here.
Perfect. All right, this next one is just a running thing to kind of settle a bet between Justin and I. You might not be a fan of either. You might love both, but or one more than the other. But if you had to pick one, Beatles or the Stones?
I mean, honestly, probably the Beatles, just because their catalog just, I mean, their song, I mean, yeah, I mean, you've had different people cover Honky Tonk Woman, but I mean, you take like a song like Yesterday, I think that's one of the best songs I've written. Willie Nelson covered it. I mean, you take Norwegian Wood, I mean, almost every country or a lot of your bigger country artists have covered it. So I like the Stones, don't get me wrong, but if I had to pick between the 2, I'd probably say the Beatles, just because I've really dove deep into a lot of their catalogs and stuff, and just they were freaking geniuses with their songwriting. I think McCartney and Lennon as songwriters, I don't think that we'll ever see anything that kindly comes close to emulating what they done, you know, kind of in their prime and stuff. So I think they're pretty special.
For sure. Even George Harrison, you know, just being stuck with them kind of probably held him back, but he's great too.
Yeah. It's kind of like, you know, having like the NBA, you know, how they do a lot of teams and shit now. Like, look at the Nets. They got KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. And any of them 3 players will be the superstar, you know, 1A on a team, but you got 3 world-class players on the same team. That's kind of how it was with the Beatles. I mean, even Ringo in his own right, you know, he was a good songwriter and stuff like that. But I mean, he was kind of second tier to them boys. But you're right, Harrison was his guitar playing and stuff. I mean, some of the best guitar players that's ever done it. You know, a lot of them looked up to him as a hero. You know, he was a hell of a guitar picker and a song.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been getting my ass whipped on that question. Everyone's picking the Beatles
because they're the best, dude.
I didn't go with the major background, man. I went with just when I'm jamming and feeling good. I want to rock out, you know what I mean? But you know, Beatles have those type of songs too. I get it. Yeah. But I'm a sucker for that slide guitar and things like that, the blues. You start throwing blues in there.
Yeah. I'm probably a bigger fan of like the sound maybe of the Stones, but when it comes to songwriting and stuff like that, it'd probably be the Beatles. Because the damn Stones, they had some. I mean, you put that shit on, you put some "Can You Hear Me Knocking" on. I mean, that gets anybody pumped up. I mean, that's good shit.
Definitely when you start talking about writing ability, because a bunch of the Stones' major hits were covers anyway. They didn't write that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took a lot of blues and shit from like Zeppelin. They just took a lot of blues and shit like that and just kind of give
Made
their
it
little.
their own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. Artist or song that's kind of like a guilty pleasure for you, but it's kind of embarrassing. You wouldn't necessarily admit to a bunch of people, or hell, you might. It
But you're
doesn't matter.
about to. But you're about to.
You're about
Yeah.
to. Yeah. Spill the beans.
I mean, country music definitely is kind of my wheelhouse. I mean, that's what I listen to probably now. But I mean, I love everything. I mean, just like a band like the Bloodhound Gang. I mean, I listened to the Bloodhound Gang. They were real big back in the 90s, early 2000s and shit when I was growing up. I love shit like that. There's a band called the Cardigans. And you remember that song Loveful?
Yep.
I love the Cardigans. They put a record out, Gran Turismo, was the record that come out after the record, Something to the Moon, I think it's called. The one that had Loveful on it, but Gran Turismo is probably one of my 5 favorite records of all time. I mean, I like everything. I mean, anything you can think of. I mean, I listen to big band music from the 40s. I listen to rock and roll from the 50s. I can listen to, shit from the 20s. I can listen to anything. I mean, I'm just a fan of music in general. Like I said, country music's kindly my heart when it comes to stuff like that. But I mean, I listen to absolutely anything you can probably think of. Not so much new shit nowadays, like pop music and stuff like that. I don't really know much about it, but I mean, there's a lot of rap and stuff I like. One of my favorite rappers is one of my favorite rap albums put out was that record that Mos Def and what's his name Talib Kweli put out. I love stuff like that. A lot of hip hop. I mean, I listen to about everything. I mean, that's the thing. I've never let any of that embarrass me because I mean, it's kind of made me who I am and kind of sent me down the road that I've went musically. So I mean, like I said, I listen to about anything.
Yep.
Agree.
That's me too. I was building a chicken coop one time and I had Tupac on. I was like, who the hell else is doing this?
Probably be amazed, man. That's the thing. I mean, good music, no matter what genre it is. I'm a fan of about everything.
Yep. All right. Next one. Do you play any instruments at all? This is the precursor to this next question.
No, I always tried to play guitar when I was growing up. I just ain't coordinated enough. I just can't do it. I play a jukebox. That's about it. I mean, that's about my end of what I play.
Okay.
But I always enjoyed singing. I can't sing worth a shit, but I've always enjoyed doing it. But I mean, when it comes to playing the instrument, no, I'm one of them people that I struggle with chewing bubble gum and walking. I'm not the most coordinated person in the world. I'm just a big hillbilly, and I'd like to be able to play guitar and shit like that. I mean, I own like 4 or 5 guitars, but I can't play to save my life.
Okay. So the question is, you wake up tomorrow, you're incredibly skilled at something. And maybe it's a guitar, maybe it's something else. If you had to shoot higher, what would you want to be able to wake up and play tomorrow?
I would like to, even more so than the instrument, I would just like to wake up tomorrow and just have a great singing voice. I'd love to be able to sing real good. I always love doing it, but just like I was watching this documentary the other day called The Irish Pub. I've watched it probably 1,000 times, and there's a guy on there. He's singing a song and can't sing worth of shit. He said, "Yeah," he said, "I can't sing." He said, "But God had to take something away from me, or else I'd been perfect." So, I'm not gonna say that, but at the same time, I've always enjoyed singing. I wish I had a voice that folks wanted to hear. So I'll just have to stick to talking on a microphone or whatever.
Speaking
You
of
do
Irish,
have go ahead.
oh, speaking of Irish, okay, there was this commercial. I don't know. I think it's for the World Cup or whatever. But speaking of listening to everything and Irish pub songs or whatever, if you get a chance, look up. There's this Irish pub and they sing Savage Garden. It's great. It's great.
I'll check it out.
All right, here's the last quick one here is if it was say a Saturday and you just wanted it, what's the best good ass night or good ass time you could ever imagine or dream of? What would you want to do with that time? There's no limitations, no restrictions, no whatever.
You're probably
a good Saturday.
You're probably gonna think I'm full of shit, but I mean, like, just spending time here with friends and family and stuff here in this old bar of mine. I mean, I love it. It's I built this over the past 5-6 years. I mean, if you was in here, it'd blow you away all the shit. I mean, you can see some stuff, but I mean, I got posters hanging on the ceiling. You can't put your hand on the wall and not touch something. I mean, there's shit everywhere. And it just, there's a sign over the door and it says, if you could look inside my mind, I imagine it'd look a whole damn lot like the walls of this bar here. And that's the truth. Like all my favorite shit's in here. So, I mean, this is probably my favorite place and it's in my front yard. So I am pretty blessed to have that. So my favorite Saturday night would be a bunch of buddies over here, us having a good time, playing some music, listening to music, spinning records, just having a good time. I mean, and I get it back quite a bit. So, I mean, I am blessed when it comes to that. I mean, that's what I enjoy as much as anything.
Yeah. Are you on a cell phone right now?
Yeah.
Can you mind picking it up and giving us a little tour of the place?
Yeah. Let me see here.
I mean, I've seen it online quite a bit, or bits and parts. It looks badass.
Yeah. Over here's my, let me see where it's even shining on. Over here's my jukebox I just got the other day. And awesome. Back here's my pinball machine, and got a dartboard over here. And there's old Hank hanging out back there with Elijah. And there's my church pew. Folks will probably recognize as they watch the video shows. As you can see, fellas, I just got shit absolutely everywhere. I mean,
what's that whaling thing back there?
That's just an old Flying W. Let me get over here to it. I was looking at it anyway. That's an old Flying W whaling flag that hangs over the front door. And nice. There's you see, my old Jägermeister machine and television. And I mean, I got about everything out here that you could, old breathalyzer tester. And that's the only thing I've ever got a high score on. And I just got a lot of cool shit out here, man. It's a pretty cool spot. Anybody that's ever come here has always said about the same thing. It just kind of feels like somewhere out of this world, like some little magical spot that folks would never imagine is here. So it's a pretty cool spot to hang out.
Yeah, I don't think I'd leave. I'd just sit in there. I don't blame you spending all your time out there.
I'm out here quite a bit.
I'm working on my own little studio spot like that. Got a bunch of crap hanging up everywhere.
Yeah, it is the perfect place. You know, that's the thing with the video show. I mean, anybody can film something, you know, like when it comes to filming a musician. But I mean, I do kind of have like a perfect backdrop for it. And that really wasn't the plan when I wanted to have my own bar. I just wanted to have my own place. I didn't have to go nowhere. The type deal. And it's turned into something pretty cool that through the video show and stuff like that, a lot of folks have got to see stuff, you know, with the podcast, you know, they could, you know, just there wasn't no audio or visual naturally. So with this, you know, folks can kind of see what's going on and things like that. And it means a lot to me to kind of be able to showcase this place a little bit more than just talking about how I'm recording from the barn and grill type deal. So it's been pretty cool with the video show and stuff to be able to, like I said, showcase this place a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah. So on the podcast, and you're playing people's music, how do you do that, the legality of that, you know, without getting copyright issues and all that?
Well, you take something like YouTube. I mean, even if you have permission to play something on YouTube, you can't, because the bots and stuff are going to scan stuff and say, this is owned by such and such. And you don't really have a way to say, well, I got permission. But with the podcast, you know, 99% or pretty much 100% of the musicians I play are independent artists. Now you take somebody like Zach Bryan. Now I featured Zach Bryan's first 2 records on the show, but that EP he come out with is on Warner Brothers and shit like that. So I stay away from that. And just like with Tyler, you know, I've played Tyler on my show for years, but like Country Squire, it's released on, I guess, RCA. So I stay away from it. I've just found if you stay away from these big labels and shit like that, most of your small labels are just tickled to death that folks are trying to give them free, you know, just free advertisement or just whatever, free, you know, just whatever you want to call it. So they're just tickled that somebody is, you know, is now, if you got on there and played the whole record or something like that, somebody might get a little offended by it. But the way I do things, where I just kind of showcase like 4 songs off a record or whatever like that, I've never had really. There's been a couple that from the get go that said, "Hey, we're not interested." Like Third Man Records, Jack White. I mean, he don't even want people taking pictures at his shows. He's just one of them type people. So I mean, I can understand why he ain't real interested in podcasts and shit like that. But there's been him and. Well, that's really the only one I can think of off the top of my head that's ever said no. You can't play player stuff. But most folks are just happy, like I said, for free publicity. I guess is kind of what I was thinking of. So I've never had nothing.
Yeah, we wondered that with some of the stuff we've done. We've been hit with copyright stuff, and hell, we had Nick Shoulders on, and he did a cover of a song, and it hit us with copyright, of course.
Slim Whitman from the grave got us.
That's right. Yeah, Slim Whitman got us.
Where do you host your stuff at?
We're just strictly a YouTube show.
Well, see, that's why I get you. If you was to do something audio wise, you could kind of do. I won't say you could do whatever you want, because I've got in trouble a couple times. And but I mean, if I play independent artists now, if I was to upload show like the show I just done, I got permission to play all 3 artists. I played them on my show before, or played 2 of them on my show before, and I know the other one. It's just happy for like I said, the free publicity or whatever. But if I was to upload the same show I done last night on YouTube, it wouldn't allow me to host it.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
So
if they only knew that we're just trying to help.
Yeah. I ran into a problem. I was doing my video show, the first episode, I uploaded it, and the instrumental music I used on the intro, one of my best friends, he was a 70-year-old man that he's over here yesterday. He gave me instrumental music to play years ago. One of the songs I played is one he has copywritten, and YouTube would not let me use it. So I had to get him to send me like an older version of the song that was different enough to where YouTube didn't pick up on it. So YouTube is kind of a little screwed up with all that stuff, but like I said, so far I'm kind of worried about the show I'm putting out Wednesday is the video show I recorded with Colder, and I hope that nothing gets flagged really, but if it does, I'll just have to take certain things out or whatever. But it's that's kind of how it is with YouTube. It's kind of hit and miss. You know how it is. You push that button to upload it, and once it starts processing, you just kind of got your fingers crossed, hoping everything goes good. Sometimes it does, sometimes it don't. So I just kind of go week by week with it and hope for the best.
Speaking of intros, I love your intro. It's hilarious. It's funny. And then you also have your voice is so like soothing. It's that deep,
Yeah.
You said you don't have a singing voice, but you could make a living probably in some narration films and cowboy movies or something.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe one of these days somebody might give me a call or something. But that was the thing that when I first started my podcast, that was this thing that I was probably most hesitant about, is where I've been raised on the border of West Virginia, Kentucky pretty much my whole life. So I thought, a lot of folks be like, who the hell is this hick type deal. But I mean, in honesty, I think it's kind of worked out in my favor probably some, because I've never heard anybody that sounds just like me, you know what I mean? And shit like that. And there's a lot of podcasts and shit I've watched, and, nothing really stood out a whole lot to me. So what I think was kind of a crutch to me at first, I've kind of just grown to accept it and just be proud of who I am and where I'm from. I just make the most of it. I mean, that's all I've ever done.
Yeah. We're here in the Hoosier State, so we're not too far from you.
Yeah. Where are you at there in Indiana?
We're just 30 minutes south of Indianapolis.
Okay. I've worked out of Indiana a little bit for the railroad. I worked out of Fort Wayne for about 2 or 3 months, and I spend a little bit of time. I go to St. Louis a lot, and we drive through Indiana, and we went to, I think it was Santa Claus, Indiana. We went up there.
Holiday World.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we went to like Santa's workshop or some shit. They had that dressed up like that, and me and my wife went there a while back, but
yeah,
what bit of time I've spent in Indiana, I've liked it.
It's not bad. 70 westbound to St. Louis, huh?
Well, I take from where I'm at, I take 64 all the way from Huntington, West Virginia to St. Louis. I mean,
Oh, wow.
Hey.
All right, I got one more question. So you mentioned a little bit earlier in the Beatles Stones discussion, but what makes a song for you? Like I love a sad song or a song with a build to it. Is it lyrics? Is it the groove? What, or I guess maybe not as much in country, but what is it? A story, sad story, or is it like the A, B, C? Oh, this happens. Switch that you see in country. What makes a good song for you?
I mean, like just for example, like if I'm trying to, if I'm going through stuff for consideration for my show, the first thing I know is vocals. First thing I notice is vocals. If somebody can't hardly sing, it's hard for me to listen to it type deal. But I think what like when it comes like my favorite song shit that stands out in my mind, I think it's just mostly just it's like it has a lot to do with what they're trying to tell me, the story, what they're trying to convey to me. You know how does that make me feel? What does it make me feel? And stuff like that is probably when it comes to my more favorite songs I listen to, songs like I buy 45 for and put it in that jukebox I just showed you. I mean, I think the story is what has the most to do with it. And but like I said, I mean, the first thing I notice in a song is how the vocals sound. But I mean, even if somebody can sing, I mean, or even if somebody really can't sing, I mean, you take Prine. Prine had a good voice. But Prine really wasn't, a 5-star vocalist. You know what I mean? But at the same time, his songwriting, I could listen to. I'd prefer to listen to his shit most of the time over some of the anything else out there. And he would tell you he knew he didn't have the best voice in the world. You take somebody like Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan didn't have the best voice in the world, but some of the damn songs he wrote and shit, people all over the world love because of his content and the stories he was telling and shit like that. So I mean that's probably what draws me back is the storytelling, what the song conveys, like I said, to me, what it makes me feel.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. It's more like if do I believe them when they're telling me something? Are they believable with how they're, pronouncing and how they're, conveying the message? That usually connects me to that final point to be like, all right, this is good shit or not.
Well, if a song makes me start visualizing in my mind what they're telling me, if I'm picturing this story in my mind, I mean that's the kind of stuff that draws me back to it. Is and there's not a lot of songs don't make me feel that, but there's a lot that do, and the ones that do, they're the ones I usually find myself going back to when I'm just sitting around listening to whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, man. We won't take too much more of your time now, so we'll just. Before we leave, though, I'd like you to just tell everyone that's listening where they can find all your shit. What website, what links, and social media, and all that.
Okay, you can listen to my podcast over on my website, which is wbwalker.com. You can search w.b.walker's Old Soul Radio Show on like iTunes, the podcast app, on Stitcher, on Google Play. I think it's getting ready to be on Amazon here before long. They sent me an email the other day wanting to me add my show on there. I'm not on Spotify, but most major podcast outlets other than Spotify, you can find my show on it. And with my YouTube stuff, it's just if you go on YouTube and just type in w.b.walker's Old Soul Video Show, it'll bring my YouTube channel up. And I do them shows every Wednesday. I do my podcast every Friday. And Facebook.com/Old Soul Radio Show, Instagram at Old Soul Radio Show, Twitter at Old Soul Radio. I mean, if you just Google w.b.walker, you should be able to find enough to kind of point you in the right direction type deal. So,
yeah.
Perfect.
All right, man. We appreciate it. We'll be in touch, and hopefully we can do this in person one day. Definitely want to come chill at the barn.
Buddy, if y'all ever get down and my neck of the woods, you're more than welcome. Both of you can come on over, and I've got people here crashing here at least once a week, twice a week. I got people staying out here in the barn all the time, musicians, buddies, and shit. So anytime y'all get close, you're more than welcome.
Sounds
All right,
good.
man.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
We'll see you later.
All right. Y'all be good.